Hello friends, and welcome back to Random Hearts. Today I want to share with you what we are doing in the month of March to prepare for our next garden season. We are actually standing in our living room. My front door is this direction, my kitchen is this way. We are in an alcove right here that does not have any kind of furniture in it typically. I do put my Christmas tree in this alcove during the holiday season, but this is the back side of our utility closet, and then this stair railing that goes upstairs. I have a dedicated power outlet down here, so my grow station will fit perfectly in this space with all the power for my heat mats, my fans, and the lights themselves. So we're gonna have those 3 stacking units. Right now they are currently down in our crawl space. We will pull those out. We will bring them up to our living room. Last year we did not protect this quilt and it stayed here the whole time, but I was very nervous about it. We didn't get any dirt or water on it, but I am going to protect it this year. We have decided to use a cardboard box, break it down, and we are going to line that with foil. That will do 2 things. That will not only protect this quilt, but it will also reflect some of that light back onto the plants. So hopefully that will help them even grow more. But we're going to pull that from the crawl space. We'll show you how that is set up, and then we'll give you a little quick tour of what it looks like.
Okay, so we're on the back side of the grow station, and we've got our cardboard here, and we wanted to figure out a good way to attach it where we could take it off later and not destroy the aluminum foil in the cardboard or do any permanent damage to our grow station. So we had a bunch of these little command clips that are used to mind electrical cables, and we figure if we just clip those to the sides, we can stick them on the back and remove them whenever we need to. So the way we're putting this one on, the little tail is going to be hidden by the wood here. On the other side, we have them down low enough that we can remove the tails, and that way when we're ready to take the cardboard off, we'll slide the whole sheet that way. So I'm going to put this one on right now, and then we'll attach it to the center.
So we weren't able to actually get all 3 of these units up here. It did take us a little longer than expected, and I've actually turned off the light on this upper unit. They are much brighter with that foil reflecting on the back, and so it was kind of messing with our video footage. And honestly, the lighting's terrible right now. These are really cool toned lights, and so they are mimicking sunlight a little more. But we had an extra appliance that we're adding in this year. We are putting in a heat mat, and so that required a little extra work, but everything else was pretty much already set up. We just needed to get it in place and rewire everything. We like the cords all tidy and minded. We also have a power strip on the floor. It is actually attached to the floor. Half of the outlets are on a timer and half of the outlets are on a switch. And because that new heat mat does not have an actual switch on it, it has a thermostatic control, we needed to make sure that we can access that and unplug it. So that is up close and personal on the front of the unit. We also have our fans. They are not plugged in yet. We do not need them. But the next step, because the grow station is set up, the next step is just to start planting some of our seeds and getting them into their trays. I think we will start with onions, and I will be doing that in just a couple of days.
It has been several days since we got the grow station set up, and today we are going to start our seed starting. Now we are out in the garage right now. It is still very cold out here. In fact, it is only 42 degrees, and I do have the heater going in the garage, and this is an insulated garage. The outside temperature right now is about 30 degrees, and we have a lot of snow on the ground, so we are far from being able to put any of this stuff outside, but I do need to start some things today. So we're going to do some winter sowing, and we are going to plant up our onion seeds. Now for my winter sowing, I am going to be using these 2 distilled water bottles. This one I have already cut and prepared. I just need to be able to put the soil down into this one. So I'm going to set that one aside, and I am going to show you what I need to do. So I've started this one. I've got a couple of holes already on the bottom here. I'm going to go ahead and punch in a couple more. These are drainage holes so that water can escape the bottom. And then I've also started the cut here. So I am cutting right below this label. And I'm just going to follow that all the way around. If I can hold on to it. And that is all there is to it. That one is ready as well.
So the whole idea behind winter sowing is to get your plants to actually warm up, the soil to warm up, and for them to germinate outside. Now I am going to be using regular potting mix here. This is not seed starting. I do have a little bit of seed starter at the bottom of this, but most of this is regular potting mix. And this is very, very dry. So I want to mix this up, and I'm going to get a little bit of water in here too. This is warm water because my soil is actually pretty cold right now. Before I start my seeds next week, I will make sure everything has come indoors and is warm. Hopefully we begin warming up. This is kind of unusual for us to be this cold. We have had negative temperatures the first week of March, so that's pretty rough. So you'll see I've got a little bit of soil that's starting to stick together there. I want a little more water in here. And I am just planting kale in these outdoor containers. A little bit more water. I want this to be basically so that I can make a ball with it, but no water comes out. And yes, this will make a mess. That's why I'm out in the garage. I did this last year in the house, and it was very messy. So we are doing this out here so that I can clean up afterwards. So you'll see I've got pretty close to a ball there. I do think I need a little bit more moisture. And I'm just mixing this in, trying to get a very even consistency with the soil. Trying to make a mess. All right, I think we are ready to go ahead. You can see I've got soil sticking together. So this one is for the dwarf curly kale. So I'm going to go ahead and load this one up with some soil. I don't need a ton down in the bottom. I'm just going to put a little. Not really pressing it down either. I just am giving a little bit of a tap to it so that I can even it out. And that one is ready. This one is for the winter boar kale. Now I am planting these indoors as well, but these are just experimental to see how they'll do outside. I forgot to mention that the kale that I'm planting indoors will not be sown until the 23rd of April. So these get a head start. And that looks pretty good for that one as well. So let me clean up this mess here, and then I'll show you how I'm going to plant those. We're going to begin with the dwarf curly. And this one says it needs to be sown 1/4 of an inch deep. So what I think I'm going to do, rather than sowing this 1/4 of an inch deep, I'm just going to put a few seeds in here. Just kind of scatter them throughout. We'll see what comes up, what doesn't. And I did use this variety last year for winter sowing. It did quite well. I honestly could not tell any difference between the plants that were sown outdoors and the plants that were sown indoors. So I don't think it really matters. This just takes some of the pressure off of my seed starting center and my grow lights so that I can use those for things that need more attention. So I'm going to go ahead and add a very thin layer of soil over the top of those. And then I will press them down just a tiny bit. This particular seed is very old, and so its germination rate will be less. So I did sow this pretty thickly because I do not expect many of them to come up. And then we're going to move on to the next kale. So that one is planted. This is our winter boar, which also 1/4 inch deep. I have never planted this variety. This is new to me this year. So we're going to put a few of these in here as well. And I'm kind of just scattering, like I said on the first one. I want to see if they'll come up at all or germinate. And I do anticipate that these will take quite a bit longer to actually show sprouts than the ones I'm going to do indoors. Those are both sewn up. I do need to add a tiny, tiny bit of water. Hopefully that will help settle some of the seeds and the dirt. So to seal these up, I'm going to go ahead and use a piece of duct tape. There is a reason I did not cut the back side of this, and that just gives the bottle a little more strength. Now, from experience last year when I did this, the tape does not do well in our sunlight. Our UV kind of destroys it, but I think this will be okay. So that one is ready. The winter boar is ready. I'll go ahead and get the curly kale ready. That tape was not quite as easy to put on, but those are ready. I just need to go put them where they are going to be. They're going to sit on the south side of the house on the deck. That is the warmest spot. They will get most of their water from snow, and I will water them as I see that they need it. So I'm going to set those aside, clean the area, and then I'll show you where those are going. So I'm going to be sitting these right here on the deck. It is a little later in the day, and so I don't have any sunlight out here right now, but this is south facing. They are right underneath the window box area, so they will get some moisture if it snows. And
they should be good right here. This is where I kept them last year, and we'll see how they do.
So we are going to start our onions, but I do need to get the seed starting soil into my tray. So this is the seed starting. I do have a little bit of the potting mix here. You can see how much loftier this is. I don't want a ton because it's just a 12 cell tray. But I'm going to go ahead and mix that tiny bit of regular potting soil in with this seed starter. That shouldn't hurt that at all to do that. And again, this is very dry, so I am going to add some water. Oh yeah, that's perfect right there. All right, so I've got my soil is ready, but my trays are not. So I'm going to be using this 12 cell tray, and this right here is a self-watering mat. So this will go down into this tray. That will wick up the moisture. We will have water down in the bottom of the tray that will wick up the moisture onto this mat, and then the roots will pick it up from the bottom of the tray. So we're going to go ahead and fill the tray. I decided to do just a 12 cell because I'm going to put 3 plants or 3 seeds per cell. And I figure I need about 27. That's what I had allotted for on my garden plan that I did in January. And actually, I don't think, did I do that plan? I did the plan in February. All right, this is good to go. We need to go 1/4 inch on our seeds. So let me wipe my hands. This is where those garage towels come into play. So these are very tiny. They're hard to see. I want to put, like I said, about 3 per cell. So I'm going to sit them on the top of the cell to begin with. It truly sucks getting older. I actually am having trouble seeing these seeds right here. My bifocal is not effective in seeing things up close, so I probably should have just taken my glasses off. And this is very tedious, so I won't make you watch this. I'll press those down just a tiny bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add a tiny thin layer on the tops of these. And that will be pretty much all we need to do for these. I am going to water them in and put their dome on them. And depending on whether they need heat to germinate, I might put them on the heat mat, but I will not need to turn on the lights for my grow station yet, because until these germinate, they don't need sunlight. They don't need the lights. So there's no reason for me to turn them on yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finished off here, dome them up, get them watered in, dome them up, and then we'll take them into the house. Oh yeah, and don't forget to label. As this tray needs more water before the seeds germinate, I will just spritz them with a water bottle just to get the surface moist. But that is pretty much all the water you'll need until they start sprouting, and then that water should come from the tray below. And that is our onions. So I did get this brought into the house. I did take a picture. I have the lights on for the picture, but I do not need to leave the lights on these onions until they start germinating or sprouting. Until I start seeing some of those little green tops poking through the dirt, I do not need to turn on the lights. I also want to leave that humidity dome on until most, if not all, of the seeds have germinated. So I want to see green in all of the cells. This is 36 seeds. In fact, it might be just a little bit more than that. I might not have gotten just 3 in each cell. It's pretty hard to do. But if I do come across too many in one cell that are growing, I can take them out. I can just pull whatever I don't want. And so that feels great. Getting the seeds out on the deck with the winter sow, that feels pretty good too. But next week I will start peppers and tomatoes, and those need a little extra time as well. And from that point, it just kind of snowballs and everything will just start coming into play. Using my calendar that I developed in February, we will get all of these things started in here. I'm also going to need to be moving these probably in about 3 to 4 weeks, and I will transplant those into a larger container with a more dense soil or a potting mix. So that's everything for this video today. I hope it has been helpful for you. This is kind of what I'm doing in the month of March. I'm just getting all these seeds started. I might be transplanting a few of them. I might be weeding out some of the weaklings and making sure that the strong ones have a good chance at survival. And just to reiterate, or maybe just let you know, I did plant 36 of these, or approximately 36. I only need 27. That does not mean that I will have a ton of tomato or a ton of onions that I don't need. That just means that some of those may not germinate, and I don't want to be shortfalled on what I need out in my garden. So I always plant a little extra. If they do happen to grow and I get 100% germination, which is rare, I will go ahead and just plant those up and get them ready to give to friends. And so they always appreciate when they get an extra plant that they weren't expecting. So that's what I'm going to do. I hope, like I said, this video is helpful. If you have questions or comments on anything that you saw in the video, please let me know in the comment section down below. I am hoping that maybe by the end of this month I might have another video out with a few more things that I am doing, like the transplanting, the thinning out of seedlings. There's a few other things. Gardening is a big, broad category, and I realize I'm not covering everything, but I am trying. So I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.